Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer in Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel. Today we are doing another song review. One of my favorite bands. They only have one album. I don't know if I can call them one of my favorite bands. My favorite, by a long shot, supergroup of all time. That'll offend some people who like the Traveling Wilburys. We're doing a song by Them Crooked Vultures, supergroup extraordinaire of Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. Tiny plug for Queens of the Stone Age. The loudest concert I've ever been to was Queens of the Stone Age at the Riverside? Milwaukee people know. Milwaukee people know if somebody could be playing the rave and you catch them at one of the other theaters, always better. Queens of Stone Age are great. Josh Homme famously named the band because rock and roll is not just for kings, it's for the queens too. Let's all get up and dance. Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age on vocals and lead guitar. Dave Grohl from a little band called Nirvana. I like how I introduced Dave Grohl as being from Nirvana because that's obviously the much bigger deal, but also of Foo Fighters fame. He is reprising his role as the drummer as he did in Nirvana, which I guess is maybe where my brain went there. And from a planet unknown, Mr. John Paul Jones, bassist from Led Zeppelin. Again, you have Queens of the Stone Age, awesome current rock band, just scuzzy, groovy, filthy rock and roll. You have Nirvana, and you have Led Zeppelin. That is an incredible lineup. And this album came out a long time ago. New Fang was the single from the album, and it won a Grammy. So, this shouldn't be like an under-the-radar type project. But I feel like often in real life, when I bring up Them Crooked Vultures, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I have wanted to do a Them Crooked Vultures song for a long time. My favorite Them Crooked Vultures song is the 7-minute ending to the album, which is Spinning in Daffodils. I do long reviews for 3-minute songs, so 7-minute song seems unnecessary. And there's also no way I wouldn't do the 15-minute version that they play live, which is even cooler. Them Crooked Vultures. Let's do another album soon. That'll be fun. Huh? Some more Them Crooked Vultures. We are going to do the first song from the album. Where's my share screen? Where'd it go? There it is. Hey. Oh man, everything's messed up here. Okay, I'm there, and that's there. Whoopsies, we got it. We're gonna do No One Loves Me, and Neither Do I by Them Crooked Vultures.
She was kicking a mag, dressed oblique. She called me baby and it wasn't me, maybe with the song on the radio. So I told her I was rich, then she asked could I use a dirty bitch. Of course, then she said no one loves me, neither do I. You can't watch a girl, I give goodbye. This such a badass, don't get caught off guard. Don't hold it against me unless it gets
hard. Let's take a minute here. The whole song is mostly just sex puns. But while I love the groovy nature, and while I think the musical setting of the song makes it much more enjoyable than just what you would expect a song that's full of sex puns to be, I did want to take a moment in sort of the analysis of this song to talk about like perhaps the difference between a healthy, pleasure positive sexual liaison and what is unhealthy and sort of toxic. We don't have enough information to sort of weigh in on the song. If I put a positive spin on it, this seems like flirty, perhaps even kinky sexual tryst that these two people engage in. But it sure could be unhealthy without some proper boundaries and good communication in place. So, meeting at the newsstand, how very old-timey. And just sort of like, they hit on each other. And then, she asked, do I need a dirty bitch? I said, of course. And the song is really that neither of them like themselves. And therefore, they move into this very passionate, sexually fueled relationship. And that's really the premise of the relationship. And that's what they're getting at the relationship. And that part of it doesn't sound super healthy with two people who do not like themselves get in this unhealthy relationship because they're both self-sabotaging, right? That could be a lot of fun and also a lot of drama, right? Like that in and of itself doesn't necessarily lead to a great relationship. I've talked about this with other songs that like sex can be for people who want it to be a very important, healthy part of a relationship. And I maintain it's like in my own head, I'm like, well, who the fuck am I? What does my opinion matter? As somebody who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, as somebody who society has deemed a relationship expert, I am skeptical that a relationship that exists purely on sexual connection has long-term viability. Sex can be a cornerstone. It can be a foundational piece. Absolutely. I would argue that's healthy, even. And if there's nothing past that, the issue is the hormones, the pheromones, the feel-good drugs that get released with seeing this new, exciting person that you've got this instant chemistry with. Those feel-good drugs and those chemicals in your brain do wear off over time as you become more comfortable and this person becomes more commonplace for your brain. You don't get quite that same level of stimulation just on their mere existence. And so sometimes these relationships that are merely about physical attraction can burn bright and then they burn out. And again, I think there's a way where that is healthy and empowering and like, if somebody is, your jam and you're their jam, have at it, right? Consenting adults, do what you want. The idea, again, that like we're doing this because we're in some sort of mode of self-loathing or self-sabotage and as some sort of punishment or like proving ourselves to not be worthy of love, we're getting in a relationship that cannot be loving. While it may be pleasurable, it isn't loving. That's not as good. Right? Hey, I just want to fling. We're going to be fuck buddies. Let's be friends with benefits. This is a springtime fling when I'm on vacation. Cool, right? If everybody is well informed and consenting to that type of relationship, awesome. Do I think the couple, as this song progresses, have a lot of legs to the relationship? No. But I do appreciate Josh Homme's sex puns. Josh Homme's a bit of a man crush. Kind of goes like, well, it used to go Jack Black, and I've soured on him just a touch. But Josh Homme's up there. It's just one of those effortlessly cool. Most people who like Queens of the Stone Age have always been making great music, and Josh Homme kind of seemed kind of like a dweeb. Like he didn't quite fit how cool the band was. Especially when you see him in like a button up and like way too baggy of pants, almost as like this old rocker from like the early 2000s. And he's somebody who I really think has peaked into his middle-aged years. Not every musical artist does that. And somebody who's entering my middle-aged years, that gives me hope, right? Like I plan to peak when I'm 45. It's always sort of been my thing. Just be full on drippy hippie at that point in my life. So I've got 8 years to find that effortless cool. Wish me luck. In the meantime, let's look at verse 2. I should show you the lyrics. Oh my gosh, StreamYard has become silly. And there we are. Verse 2, here we go. Okay, sorry, it's just getting good, but I'm gonna pause it there. The If Sex is a Weapon, then Smash Boom Pow, How You Like Me Now is really good songwriting. And then you can always do what's can't always do what's right, you can always do what's left is probably the weakest line in the song. Yeah, I mean, I think there's this sort of like flirty, confident, badass sexual tension the song captures. I did have the thought, like, maybe it's just like, he's being propositioned by a sex worker, but like, I don't know. I don't think they released it as a single, and I don't think it has a like music video or anything. As somebody who's like, this is my favorite supergroup, I should know those things. The supergroup nature of it made some of the media tour and some of that extra stuff a little less than you would like for a band you love so much. Yeah, it's more sort of, they're not puns, but like some tongue-in-cheek clever songwriting. I appreciate clever songwriting. My parents are both at various points of their career been English teachers. I grew up reading a lot of poetry, and I can talk to you at length about Lord Byron, a poem about a chick strangling you to death with her hair when you think you're falling in love with her on a park bench. My family thinks I'm the only one who's neurodivergent, but like, come on, you're teaching your kids Lord Byron poems. I have a Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner tattoo. Like, this is not because I grew up in a neurotypical household. This is unrelated to the song. I'm well caffeinated. I was always told in my grad program that the biggest issue I had with being a therapist was I was not professional enough. And so I had, for a while maybe before one of my Great Dane mixes ate these socks. They're both rescues and have some separation anxiety. I used to do bird days, in which I would take every album that I had, not every, I would select just albums that were bird related. Always this album, Them Crooked Vultures. You can see the man body with the vulture head is the album art. Some albums by the Byrds, some jazz by Donald Byrd. What else? Lynyrd Skynyrd, because it had Freebird on it. All these bird-related albums that I owned. So I have a record player in my office. Therapy tip. Here's a free therapy tip for y'all. Just for the therapists, not for non-therapists. If you put a record player in your office, and then you select records that are about the session length that you go, then when you flip the album, you're halfway through, and then when the album's done playing, you're done with your time. It's a lovely way to keep track of time. I was taught in grad school also to not put a clock where clients can see it. And as somebody who is neurodivergent, that's very irritating. Therapists, just let everybody see the clock. It's okay that people know what time it is. It's good consent. Where was I going? Oh, so bird days then, because I was told for a long time that I was too unprofessional. All my bird related albums, and then I would wear bird socks, and I would wear a bird shirt, typically either like DuckTales or Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck it worked really well with this outfit that I had. They were like pigeon socks, so gray socks with pigeons on them. And then like a purple Darkwing Duck shirt, and then like a white shirt with like birds on it, button-up shirt. Because you gotta have the collared shirt to be professional. So I like Hawaiian shirts, birds on it, Darkwing Duck shirt. So we do bird days, in which I don't think very many of my clients ever noticed because I didn't point it out to them. But I'd like to think somebody, some point, realized like, wow, that's really nifty that I have such a professional therapist who has bird socks, bird shirt, another bird shirt, and we were listening to bird music in session. That's incredible. And then later in my life, I've just started not clinically diagnosing people with ADHD, but low-key diagnosing people with ADHD who are not my clients if they have bird tattoos. The aforementioned Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I have a quite large albatross tattooed on my back. And lo and behold, I'm neurodivergent. If you listen to my podcast often, I will check with people who have bird tattoos if they're neurodivergent, or if I know they're neurodivergent, I'll ask if they have any bird tattoos. It's a surprisingly high correlation. Neurodivergent folks like birds. We like nature. It's stimulating, lots of dopamine. Sex also gives a lot of dopamine. Look at that tie-in. Good job bringing it all the way back. And yeah, lots of feel-good drugs. So yeah, this like flirty back and forth we're having here sounds fun. Pleasure, positive, lots of dopamine, lots of feel-good drugs in the brain. I'm a little concerned about how we're both, that's some of that self-talk. Makes perfect sense that nobody loves me. Neither do I. Makes perfect sense, so I never ask why. Again, it rhymes because it's a song and we're writing it to match the timing of the song, but that's not good self-talk. Self-talk is one of those things that I think the various outlets I've had, outlets is the wrong word, the various career paths I've had while under the heading of mental health, working with a lot of athletes, both as a director of student-athlete mental wellness at a college and as a coach for very many years. Self-talk comes up a lot with athletes, and I think a lot of times with athletes, what would happen is we'd sort of work on repetition. So like, you have a bad habit, you've practiced it a lot, you had a coach who was garbage before you came to my team, and now I have to fix that bad coaching. And so you have all these repetitions of the bad things, so we have to do more repetitions. The good thing to replace it, sometimes with habits, it's not just unlearning the bad habit, but what is taking its place when people are trying to quit unhealthy coping mechanisms such as smoking or overeating. Again, so much focus is on stopping the bad behavior. And if you don't have what you're doing instead, even when I'm talking with couples, like we want to stop arguing, that's great. I support that. That's lovely. What are we going to do? If you spend 3 hours a night arguing, if you spend 1 hour a week arguing, whatever it is, you spend some amount of time arguing, what are we going to fill that with? Because we don't fill it with anything, we will inevitably revert to the old pattern. And so self-talk with athletes often is just like about repetition. So we practice positive self-talk. Find a mantra that works. Find something that's helpful. Counterbalance that negative self-talk until it becomes positive. And there's some athletes, there's some people who have those brains where that repetition, that sort of like brute force rewiring of your brain works really well. And then I think for a lot of folks, myself included, a lot of the neurodivergent athletes I've worked with over the years, really needs some like... it's interesting because as an ADHDer, I'm also on the spectrum. I really relate. The way that my brain works is very much top-down processing. So I like to have the big picture, and I like to work backwards into smaller pieces. I want to see how it all connects, zoomed way out, and then I can zoom in. And sometimes other neurotypes, specifically on the autism spectrum, are going to work bottom-up processing. And I think a lot of neurotypicals are also bottom-up processing, but like to a less they're just more linear, so they can take one piece at a time until they get to the finished product. Where sometimes with the autism spectrum disorder, not always neurodivergence is such a variable thing. But I just watched a video about this today, and I was like, no, that's wrong. And like, it's not wrong. It's just different than my neurodivergence. But a specialist who was also neurodivergent and works with neurodivergent folks, talking about how they're start with like small pieces and usually like very minute detail pieces to get their brain going to complete a task. And yeah, the brain is a fascinating thing. And so something like self-talk, like no one loves me, neither do I. I don't even have to question it anymore because it just makes sense. I'm unlovable. Like, man, that sounds real deep-rooted. So that would take something. And some people can just sort of do the brute brain strength of let's rewire it through like raw repetition and over like counterbalance it. And then some people need like to really truly like connect with themselves and feel love. And maybe that is through this sexual relationship that's about to take place, or has taken place. The smash boom pow, how you like me now seems to imply sex has happened. Song reviews are, it's always a stretch. Sometimes people are like, this song is not about trauma. Like, I know this weird metal song from the 90s isn't about trauma. They didn't think, I'm going to sit down and write a song about trauma. People might do that now, but like, yes, most of my analyses are excuses for me to talk about mental health concepts that I know a lot about. And like, here's this one thing that sort of relates to the topic I want to talk about. It's hard to come up with content when like this is what you do. But like therapists are very practiced at building, we're not like lecturing a class the same information. We are taking information and really making it specialized and unique for each single person we see, couple, client, system, polycule, whatever we're working with, whoever's in the room, we're specializing information to fit them specifically. And so I think a lot of times, I don't know how other therapy content creators feel about this, but like it's difficult because I'm not relating to a client. I'm not saying, here's this bit of research, here's what these other clients feel. Here's like, I'm not responding to someone who's asking me for help. So, the media piece is nice because I can add to it. And then also, hopefully somebody's never heard of them Crooked Vultures and then does because of this video. That'd be cool because they're a great band. Speaking of what a great band, let's listen to some rockin' A Bridge. I'm not a music person. I don't know. The bridge is pretty great. The grooviness of this band is great, and then they can go pretty hard. So let's all experience that. So I apologize for winking. It's just Josh Homme's making so many sex jokes. I thought I would too. Let's listen to the rest of the song. What a fun song. Oh no, I didn't share my screen. That's okay. That's why I don't live stream this. I would have been headbanging and people would have been in the comments being like, where's the song? We can edit that back in. And by we, I mean Kenny, who's much more technically advanced than I am. It's amazing how often I do this. Once a week, I do a video. Sometimes I record them in a batch, and then I get oddly out of practice at how to do all the technology. Call me, I'm loose, I'm ready to go. People in the world about to lose control. Is one of the like pretty common lyrics I see out and about. I have the album. I should hit pause and just go get the album. It's gonna bother me because I've seen so many different versions of the lyrics. Hey, we're back. Ooh, you can see how bright my lights are. There we go. Them Crooked Vultures, the album. Because on screen, you couldn't see it because I forgot to load it. Just for the last little bit, you couldn't see the lyrics, but Amazon Music just used like AI? Are we just guessing at lyrics? Because this is what I always thought the lyrics were, and then they were talking about noose, and I was like, wait, am I a mental health professional? And I missed that there's like suicide in the song, and no, the billion-dollar corporation that is Amazon just is a terrible service. Because it is, call me, I'm loose and ready to go. People in a world about to lose control. That's good. I was concerned in the middle of recording the song that I've listened to probably thousands of times that I had misheard the lyrics, which, as somebody being on the spectrum, I do have some degree of auditory processing issues, so I often get song lyrics wrong for songs I listen to a lot. There's cool Vulture people, but also it's black and white lyrics over sometimes black pictures, so it's hard to read. I'm just getting old? I don't know. I know how to burn with passion. I know the lyrics. I've heard the song so many times. I know how to burn with passion, hold but nothing back for future ration. Again, when I started talking about the song, like sometimes relationships that are predominantly physical burn bright and then burn out. I talked about this recently with another song that affair relationships are often this way, that they can be very intense because they're very time constrained. And so over a short amount of time, they're very intense, but they don't have that sustainability because there's not a great foundation to the relationship that's built. And so, again, I mean, in this like compulsive heteronormative forced monogamy, late stage capitalism, all the other things I could say about culture, the social norms don't necessarily relate and are not based on like what works well for how humans relate. Most humans are not monogamous in the sense that we mate with one partner only for our entire lives. And so like that being the perceived successful norm is a nonsense idea. So there can be like a lot to be gained in relationships that are purely physical, that are burn bright and burn out. It's just perhaps not a healthy way to do a long-term relationship, is what I would suggest, especially if we've got some like underlying self-esteem stuff to work through. Give all you are, do not make haste, savor every single taste you get. Got. Again, like, I think they got that lyric wrong. It's just using AI? That's irritating. Stop ruining the environment, you capitalist asshats. Not you, dear listener. You're awesome. Unless you're a billionaire, then give away all your money and stop being a shitty person. I know how to be controlled, do opposite of what you're told, quick to react, break the box, turn on cues that sell door locks. Again, I like this imagery because I think for kink and for a lot of my BDSM clients, they have a lot of questions often on what does it mean that this is something that gets them off? Is this okay? Which, like, again, I am a licensed mental health professional. I've been doing therapy for 16 years. I'm licensed and in good standing with all my various boards and credentialing bodies and groups that I'm a part of. And I sort of maintain this loose, like, tentative in my head, like, but who the fuck am I? Like, I don't know. It's just my opinion, man. Like, I'm a character in The Big Lebowski, but like, my opinion is well informed on a lot of research and a lot of experience. But like, is it right for you? Like, generally, that's going to be dictated by your response to it, your body's response, your nervous system's response, especially when it comes to sex. Like, having an orgasm can be a really wonderful way to reset your nervous system. And there's a lot of heavy drugs, feel good drugs, but also like strong connections. Like, sometimes you're going to start a relationship, friends with benefits or fuck buddies, and somebody catches feelings because those feelings partially are based on the chemicals in your brain. There's other stuff to it, shared experience, lived experience, common connection, blah, 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 blah. But some of it is chemicals. And if we're going to keep injecting those chemicals into our brain with the same person, sometimes you're going to catch feelings for that person. So I get this a lot. And, when we talk about control, when we talk about power play, when we talk about BDSM and some of the kink subcultures, like, certainly there's issues of control. And like, these are people who sometimes have a lot of control in their life, and they're happy to not be in control. They're happy to give someone else control. They're happy to be told what to do. That's like a break or a relief from them. Sometimes they were, pushed up against the fence by, an older, stronger kid, and that somehow is hardwired into their working. I don't know. Again, like, usually I don't dig into where people's kinks come from, because you don't like love it. Why do you like your brunettes? Because your mom's brunette. Like, yeah, that doesn't make anybody feel better about understanding their kink. Some shit just gets hardwired in for not a very intentional reason, and sometimes digging into that doesn't make us feel better. Is it safe? Is it consensual? Are we having fun? Is it pleasurable? Like, cool. Love that. Let's do that. Let's play with it. Let's explore in a safe, supportive environment. Somebody who works with a lot of neurodivergent folks, especially, I think, my ADHD folks, there's so much paradox with being on the spectrum and having ADHD, because sometimes that spectrum-y stuff is real rigid. Like, we want that structure. We want the same thing over and over again. It's very comforting, whether it's a texture, that's a sensory input, that's a smell, a taste, whatever it is. Maybe it's a specific position. Maybe it's a specific outfit that makes us feel comfortable in our skin in a way that we can share with other people. And then we have the ADHD part, which wants novelty. And so we have this thing that like feels really consistent. And then our other brain's like, yeah, but I want to do something different. Hooray. Yay. Dopamine. Woohoo. And like, you get a ton of dopamine from having an orgasm, and also from novel experiences. And so sex can be this really powerful thing. And the paradox of like needing something consistent or wanting something that for sensory reasons sometimes feels very good or safe or comforting. Maybe it's aftercare, maybe it's foreplay, maybe whatever it is. So again, this little quick verse, as a neurodivergent person who works with a lot of neurodivergent people and as a marriage therapist who talks a lot about sex, it's a very funny verse for me of like, yeah, man, there's a lot in that verse that could mean a lot of different things. I wonder what was in mind of the person who's writing the song when they wrote these verses. I know how to be lost in lust, not because you should, because you must. Burns white hot, and so clouds the mind. The lightning strike isn't always kind. This relationship that was purely physical and lust-based didn't last very long. But like also was lovely and kind and sweet and nice, and it's good to have those experiences. I just had this conversation with a client earlier this week on like sometimes relationships don't last, and like that's good. I see a lot of folks recovering from purity culture and like this idea of things need to be forever, and that's the only way it's successful is first like a fantasy. The odds of you and your life partner holding hands as you die within an hour of each other, rocking on the front porch, like is next to impossible to experience. It just doesn't happen that way, right? And so building this mythos around relationships, if that is the only successful relationships, means most of us feel some version of failure around a relationship. But like, no, if you learned something about yourself, if you grew in some way, if having a new and novel experience taught you something about yourself or how you show up as a partner or what kind of partner you would like, that's lovely, right? Even if it isn't the person you're going to be with forever. And if we could normalize that, especially when we're with young people or like fresh out of college or whatever the age dynamic, the demographic might be, where they feel they're like behind somehow, or they should be doing something with it. Like, no, dating's about learning. Dating does not inherently need to be about finding a long-term partner. Let go of that idea. Dating is a learning process. It's about seeing what type of person you do well with in a relationship, what sort of person you do well for in a relationship. How do you get your needs met from people? What do you look like in different dynamics? How do you show up for different people? What do those people do for you? What are we building together with another human that we're experiencing together? That's what dating is. And if we could stop pushing this idea of forever and for always or else, be great. People would probably be like better adjusted and have healthier relationships and probably find someone who's a good fit for them sooner. Y'all, if we just did better, I'm just going to start putting in every video. What if we just did better? Because I think that's possible. Go listen to this album if this is new for you. New Fang is good. Caligula is great. Spinning in Daffodils is great. Go see them play at like Roskilde. I don't know how to say that foreign town. It's on YouTube. Spinning in Daffodils becomes a 15-minute jam, and it's awesome. And John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin fame, just reiterate that again, does like an awesome piano solo at a rock outdoor festival, and it's the coolest thing. Yeah. And if you're not familiar with Josh Homme, I'm always hesitant to be like, go check out this cool person, because then like they do bad things, and like he had some weird stuff I think pop up with his divorce, and like there was custody for a kid, and accusations were made and then dropped, and it all seemed very, for me, sort of unfortunately run of the mill for how when a relationship is deteriorating, we sort of see the worst versions of ourselves. And I don't know if that was on his end or on her end, or most likely both of their ends, or what happened there. So I'll be like, go check out Josh Homme. He's so cool. I don't know him personally. But he's got some cool ideas about rock music and things being for everyone and everybody being fucking cool and awesome. And yeah, again, I think he's kind of a dork early in his career. And that was even like, I'm not even getting into like Kaios, where it's like this desert stoner band. But definitely like, yeah, Songs for the Deaf is like a great Queens of the Stone Age album. And then also like just that baggy clothes aesthetic. Like, you're not a skater guy, but you're trying to do the skater thing. But like, man, this didn't age well. So like Josh Homme now is like super fucking cool. So go listen to Queens of the Stone Age too. The Foo Fighters I am ambivalent about. They're not as cool. Foo Fighters, man. Okay. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me about your cool lust-based relationships that you learned from. I mean, or not. I don't know that YouTube is the place for that. I'm just trying to come up with anything I can tell you to put in the comments. Other songs or media you would like me to review, drop down in that comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps people find me. All right, y'all. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Peace.